Hi everyone. I just want to talk a little bit about the research problem. This is something that can be useful for students who are in both semesters, third and fourth. First of all, I think just to keep in mind that what is the main purpose of a research problem? The idea is to present a significant problem or issue and its rationale of its importance. And this is key. I mean, when you select a research problem, which first you start by selecting a research topic. The research topic has to be something relevant for the field, for our contest, and so on. So it's very important that what you choose, once you start reading the literature, you see that it is relevant for this moment. This is to say that if you choose a topic and start doing a research, writing a research problem about something that has been done a lot and that probably will not be very significant or relevant for our contest, I mean, I think you should change it and choose something more attractive. In fact, choose something that is challenging for you. Then that'll be something, and that's something important when you're doing research. So the research problem is an issue we want to address in our study. Yes. In short words, when we write the research problem, we present that issue and we justify why it is important to do this. So in general terms, this is a general model of a research problem, which usually is presented separately from the introduction, but I think it's better when you actually write the research problem in your introduction, which means that for those in fourth semester, once you start writing your introduction, you can introduce it there. And the ones who are in the third semester, the idea is that you can have your research problem written, and once you start writing the introduction, you can include it. So first, he has a research topic, and once you choose your research topic, you talk about actually the studies that have addressed the problem in a general way. I mean, it's to say, in the literature so far, in general, what can you tell? What do we find about this discussion? Of course, at this point that you haven't been able to read a lot, you just will use a few articles that you find, and that's okay. That's just the beginning. In fact, in those articles, they usually, in their literature reviews or in the introduction, they present the general, the new trends, or in terms that the discussion that is taking place at the moment. That's the reason why read the introductions of a couple of articles related to your research topic, and there you can have an idea. Then you have to really emphasize the importance of the study for the audience. In this case, the audience would be the academic community, and to be more specific, to teachers. And at the end, you write what they call the purpose statement, which the purpose statement is at the end it's like the question, what is it that you want to see to study in this research project. So something to keep in mind is once you start writing, there's something key. Is the first sentence, create reader interest. I mean, when you write the first sentence, which is usually called a narrative hook, that sentence should actually show at the beginning what is it that you want to do, or at least capture your reader's attention to get him or her following reading your introduction or your research problem. Keep in mind, you need to stimulate the reader interest, convey an issue to which a broad audience can relate, in this case, the audience of English teachers and people who actually deal with applied linguistics. Clearly identify the research problem. I mean, what is the dilemma? What is the issue leading to the study? To indicate why the problem is important by citing references that justify the need of the study of the problem. I mean, this is key. Try to find some authors who can give us an overall look of what the discussion is about. Discussion is in this moment. What is the state of the discussion around this topic? Make sure that the research problem is framed, in a manner consistent with the approach to the research in the study. In this case, once you start reading the research problem, you can probably foresee if it's going to be a qualitative research which focus in case studies and so on. It's not that you have to mention what's going to be the methodology, but when you're thinking about research problem, it's somehow you identify what would be the research approach you will use. For example, if I want to know teachers' opinions about the implementation of a policy in schools in Cali, for example, because I want to find out what they think about this implementation. So in that case, okay, I would like to address to many teachers in Cali. I want just to find out the general tendency or patterns that I will identify. So in that case, I would just have a survey and do quantitative research and getting a lot of population, thinking about the representativeness and so on. Or in the other cases, I would say I want to identify teachers' perceptions about certain things. You might know that when you do perceptions, whether you can use surveys as well, but on the other hand, you can focus on qualitative research and when you find out why people have certain opinions about certain issues. So it's when you are stating your research problem, we can tell probably what is going to be the approach, even though you don't have to mention per se. When stating your research, it's important to say, the research problem is to mention what is the research topic. From the beginning, it has to be something that we can tell immediately. In this case, when you're writing what is the controversy, you're setting the research problem within the ongoing dialogue in the literature. So that's the reason why when you present the controversy or the issue that you're addressing or related to what you want to study, it's important to take a look at the literature, a quick one. Of course, as I said, this is an ongoing process, which means that the first approach to have the research problem will be improved or enriched as you read more literature. What is the concern in this case? What is your concern? What is it that you want to know? Sometimes concerns are related to both points. First, to see, based on that controversy, what is that you want to identify based on what's being discussed. But on the other hand, because we teach in certain context, we want to see that controversy in our context. So, and I'm going to show you an example in a minute. So we're talking about strategies to enhance. Okay, for example, is it important to focus on the accuracy in auto production? So you get into the controversy, authors who agree with that, authors who disagree, and they show different studies where they apply certain strategies and the results were positive and negative and so on. And okay, so I want to apply that in my class, in my context. And why is it important to apply it in my context and to see what happens there? And so usually when you finish writing the research problem, which will be at the third paragraph or fourth paragraph, depends how many paragraphs you want to write. I said 3, just keep it like that. So till now, you said the problem addressed in this study is. So in that case, where you make it specific. So I give you an example. You start from the general to the specific. So general is a research topic. This is what I did in my master's report. Noticing gaps. Actually, it's noticing language gaps. Language gaps and learning. I mean, that was pretty much what I read about. Many authors state that noticing is fundamental in the learning process. That means that students, when they need to really understand what they're doing and be able to identify those gaps that exist between their interlanguage and the target language. So, of course, there are authors who agree and others who disagree. Some say that there's no need for noticing. So what I did is I went through the whole, in my literature review, I showed the different positions, and at the end I'd say, okay, this is what I want to do. The research problem in this case is the lack of students noticing of language gaps, which reduces learning. I mean, that's what I want to see. That's the problem. I mean, students are not when they do not notice in my context, and this is related to the discussion, students don't do it, and that affects the oral production. So the research statement, which is the way I finished the research problem, the whole paragraph, it was this research studies the effect of noticing language gaps in students' oral performance. And then I continue saying something else, but that's the key. And then I get to the research questions. What is the effect of a focused task on students noticing grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, and content gaps in their own oral performance? And I have some questions. Does the focused attention task enhance noticing of grammar, pronunciation, vocabulary, content gaps in students' own oral performance? If so, does noticing enhance any kind of improvement in students' oral performance leading to language learning? So, as I said, if you start from a general and at the end you have the research statements what you want. This is something that we'll see further, so don't worry about this. So I'm going to show you some examples, and you can find it in our folder. When you go to these resources used in the videos, so actually I'm going to put here research problem, and I would put here some examples that you can take a look at. For example, this is an example of the introduction done in my research, in my MA report, where I stated the research problem. Of course, I will make a few changes, but I think in general that was the main idea. Here's one written by okay, actually, I think that's the same one I had. Forget that's so I want to delete that document. Okay, this one, oh, this is not working. I think there's a problem with my computer in this moment. Let me see. Okay. Okay, so you can take a look at them anyways. Now, there you go. Yes. So this is one written by a colleague here. And he in the introduction, he states actually the introduction, the research problem. So there you go here. Introduction, you can read it, take a look at it. And the most important thing, check articles in journals. I think they give you, when you read those, you find really wonderful ways to introduce the research problem. So this one, for example, I like it very much. It's very short in introduction and states the research problem in 3 paragraphs. So that's the idea, that we can read, look at journals and everything, and that will give you more ideas. I know that you have already advanced a lot in your research problem. So I think I just want to go through general things that I hope will be helpful. Of course, I know that you have had the chance to find more information, and I think much better explanations for this issue. So if you have any questions, please let me know.